Hey everybody, it is Dak here from the Ed Boys, and welcome to my 1 to 99 woodcutting and forestry guide. In this guide, I will be going over everything you need to know about training woodcutting, starting with the different axes that you can use and the difference between them. I'll then go over forestry, which will likely be the majority of the video since it is a big deal for woodcutting. Afterwards, I'll show you the route that I would use for 99 woodcutting, and then the alt methods that you could use as well. You will need an axe to chop down any trees. Higher level axes give you a better chance of getting logs, so you always want to use the highest level axe available to you. The crystal axe is a nice upgrade from the dragon axe, but you do need a crystal tool seed to make it, and then you have to keep charging it with crystal shards, so it is fairly expensive for a little bit of bonus woodcutting gains. In other words, it's reasonable to just stick to the dragon axe unless you have a lot of extra cash. The dragon axe can be upgraded into an infernal axe by using a smoldering stone on it. Chopping logs with the infernal axe gives a chance to automatically burn the logs when you chop them, giving some fire making XP during your woodcutting grind, as well as making it a little bit more AFK to grind out woodcutting. The infernal axe does use charges. When you first make the axe, you'll get 5,000 charges. Once it burns 5,000 logs and runs out, you can still use the infernal axe just basically as a dragon axe, and then you can recharge it by either using another stone or another dragon axe on it, and it is a lot cheaper to recharge the axe by just using another dragon axe. A felling axe is a nice upgrade for bonus XP. To make an axe into a felling axe requires a felling axe handle, which is a reward from forestry. It is a couple mil for the felling axe handle, so it's a bit of an expensive upgrade, and it's not really worth it until you get to 61, and you can do that on a dragon axe. Once you do get to the dragon axe, I do highly suggest using a dragon felling axe for a bit faster XP. You do have to use rations for the felling axe as well, which are easily obtained by using leaves on some cheap food like tuna or bass, and the rations are also tradable, so you could just go buy some from the grain exchange as well. The felling axe is really solid, but keep in mind that you can't make an infernal felling axe. Unfortunately, you have to choose one or the other if you like both of those axes. Let's start talking about forestry, which was a significant upgrade to woodcutting gains. First of all, the basics of woodcutting were changed up a little bit, mostly in an attempt to make woodcutting more viable with a large group of people. When chopping trees, you now get an invisible level boost as long as there are more players chopping that same tree. Each player on the tree gives a +1 boost to your woodcutting up to a max of +10. This does mean if you get more than 7 players on a tree, then you're actually getting a better boost than if you were chopping in the woodcutting guild, and this boost does not work if you are in the woodcutting guild, so it's unable to stack, unfortunately. The other change to woodcutting basics is how trees deplete. Trees used to have like a small chance of disappearing every time somebody chopped a log from it, but now there is a set timer for the tree which starts as soon as somebody starts chopping it, and then that timer will also regenerate if all the players stop chopping that tree. So both of these updates here, they do encourage players to chop together, creating a much more social atmosphere for woodcutting, which on its own is already a pretty solid update for forestry. The main thing about forestry is events. A forestry event can happen in any world, but the more players that are chopping nearby trees, the more often an event will happen, and the more rewards that you actually get from that event. So it is highly suggested to hop to a forestry world while you're training woodcutting if you want to get a forestry event. In these forestry worlds, you'll find a lot of players are woodcutting in most of the popular woodcutting areas. Forestry events can't spawn on regular trees or trees within the woodcutting guild. You must have been chopping a tree in that area within the last 3 minutes to participate in an event as well. So you can't just like hop over to other forestry worlds looking for events. The events can pop up at fairly random intervals. Sometimes I've gone 45 minutes to an hour without one, and then I've also seen up to 3 events in a row. I usually expect like 2 events per hour though. To participate in any of these events, you will need your forestry kit, which can be obtained for free from the Friendly Forester, who is located on the south side of the Draenor Village Bank. The forestry kit can be worn in your cape slot, and it'll automatically collect a few key forestry items. Anima bark is a currency that can be spent at the Friendly Forester's shop, and you can receive bark by participating in forestry events. And then when you chop trees, you'll also be collecting their leaves automatically. This doesn't require an event to get any leaves from a tree. That'll just happen passively while you're chopping, which you can use to make forestry rations. These are the rations that are used to get the extra XP while using the felling axe, and they can all be stored in the kit. We'll come back to that stuff a little bit later in the forestry section. Let's go over each of the events that you can see. If you are on RuneLite, the woodcutting plugin will highlight and solve the events like really simply. You don't have to be paying that much attention half the time if you're using the plugin, but it's not required at all since the events are pretty simple in the first place. We'll start with the enchantment ritual. This NPC known as a dryad is going to spawn, and then 5 symbols will spawn on the ground as well. Your job is to stand on the odd one out, which is going to power up the dryad. The odd one out could be a different color or a different shape than any of the other symbols, and even if you don't know which one to stand on, usually a bunch of other players will already go and stand on the correct one, and you could just follow them. The dryad is going to do this ritual 8 times. Each time that you're standing on a correct symbol when he checks, you will get some woodcutting XP and some anima bark, and you'll also get some bonus at the end of the event based on how many rituals you did correctly. You do have a 1 in 50 chance to get the petal garland, which is just a cosmetic, but it is a collection log slot. Next, we have the beehives. A beekeeper will spawn in along with an unfinished beehive. You have to use logs to be able to build these beehives, so this one's a little bit more convenient if you happen to be at a full inventory or if you're chopping near a bank. Fixing up beehives does give you woodcutting and construction XP, as well as some anima bark. The beekeeper will continue to set up new unfinished beehives if you keep finishing them, and then when a beehive is finished, you do have a 2 out of 3 chance to get some sturdy beehive parts, which can be used to make a beehive in your player-owned home. Next, we have pheasant control. The freaky forester will spawn in along with some pheasant nests. There will always be one unprotected nest with no pheasant on it, and you have to take an egg from that nest and bring it to the forester. You can only take 1 egg at a time, and trying to take an egg from a protected nest will get you stunned by the pheasant. Turning in the eggs to the freaky forester will give you some woodcutting and thieving XP, as well as some anima bark. You also have a chance to get the golden pheasant egg, which you can use on your beaver pet to transmog into a pheasant. You have a chance for the golden egg each time that you grab a pheasant egg, and the higher your woodcutting level is, the better your chances that it'll be a golden egg. Next, we have the rising roots, my favorite event. Some roots are going to spawn in. Chopping these roots will give you woodcutting XP and anima bark. Some of the roots will be anima infused roots, which you can see if you look close. There's going to be a little bit of a green trim in the root. Chopping those infused roots will increase your woodcutting XP and the amount of bark that you get from them. Next, we have the flowering bush event. 8 different colored bushes will spawn along with some bees flying around. 2 out of the 8 bushes are available to pollinate from at a time. So you take pollen from one bush, use it on the other, and then take pollen from that bush, use it on that first one, just back and forth. To know which bushes you can use, I usually just have to trial and error real quick until I get some pollen. This is one of the events that is a lot smoother with the RuneLight plugin, and you do gain anima bark each time that you successfully pollinate a bush. Next, we have the struggling sapling event. After a tree depletes, it can spawn a struggling sapling, as well as 5 piles of different foliage that you can pick up from. Picking up from the piles will create some mulch, which you can use on the sapling to strengthen it. When the event spawns, there's going to be a specific combination of those resources to make the best mulch, and it is going to be different on each event. To figure out yourself which one you should take, you just take 3 mulch from the same pile, use it on the sapling, and check to see which ingredient it liked, if it liked any of them, and then move on to the next pile and just kind of trial and error. Again, if you have the RuneLight plugin, it does make a very big difference, as well as players will often announce when they find the correct ingredients, just using like the 1-letter symbols like D for droppings, G for green leaves, R for rotting leaves, B for splintered bark, and M for wild mushrooms. So if somebody says D1, they're letting you know that droppings are the first ingredient. If you see a player say multiple letters, like in this case it would be B, G, R, then you know that that is the full order of the mulch. Now we've got the friendly Ents. This is definitely the event that spawns the very least for me. These cute little Entlings are going to spawn in asking basically for a haircut. If you click on the Ent, you'll be given 3 options for how to trim them up: the top, sides, and the back. You can tell which option to give them based on what they're calling out. Breezy at the back means prune the back. A leafy mullet means prune the top and the sides. Short on the back and sides means prune the back and sides. And then short on the top just means prune the top. Pruning the Ents correctly will give you some woodcutting and fletching XP, as well as some anima bark, and you will get a bonus reward when they despawn, depending on how much you participate, of course. Next, we have the Poachers event. A bunch of poachers are going to spawn in and start setting traps for a nearby frightened fox. All you have to do is click on the trap to begin disarming it. Very simple event. Each time that you disable a trap, you will get some hunter XP, as well as some anima bark. At the end of the event, you do have a chance to get a fox whistle, which can be used to change your beaver into a fox pet, similar to that golden pheasant egg. The higher your woodcutting level, the better chances of getting the whistle after the event. Finally, we have the woodcutting leprechaun. This leprechaun will show up, and you can use him like a deposit box to deposit your logs a little bit faster. The main thing here is that he also spawns in rainbows occasionally. Standing in the end of the rainbow is going to increase the woodcutting XP that you get for a short time, as well as give you some anima bark whenever you chop logs, so you mostly just want to make sure to go stand in each of the rainbows as they spawn. The main thing that you'll be collecting while completing events is anima bark, which can be spent at the rewards shop at the Friendly Forester in Draenor Village. First, we have the Secateur blade, which can be used with an iron bar at an anvil to make the Secateur's attachment. Having these on you while woodcutting will increase the amount of leaves that you get. Ritual mulch can be used with high tier herbs, any tier that's Avanto and above, and you can make some nature's offerings. Each mulch and herb is going to make 40 offerings, and this does require 50 farming and 68 woodcutting to make. Woodcutting while you have mulch on you or in your forestry kit does give you a chance to get a bonus log, which is kind of nice, but not a huge deal overall since logs aren't the most valuable resource. Next, we're going to skip down to this log basket. The basket can hold up to 28 logs so that you don't have to bank as often, and you can also purchase this log brace, which can be used to attach the log basket to your forestry kit, saving you an inventory space. The felling axe handle can be used on any axe to turn it into a felling axe, which then can be used with rations to get some bonus XP while woodcutting. You also will get less logs while using a felling axe. To make rations for the axe, you do need to combine leaves with some sort of cooked fish or meat. Higher level leaves and higher tier food can make more rations. I do like combining the leaves with tuna since it is pretty cheap and still a ×2 multiplier. The Twitcher's gloves are a pretty cool idea. While wearing the gloves, you can pick a type of bird's nest that you want more of, like nests with seeds, rings, eggs, or even clues, and you'll be more likely to get those types of nests. This bonus chance does stack with the effect of the strung rabbit's foot, but that's not the most helpful item in the first place, to be honest. Down here we have the lumberjack outfit as well as the forestry outfit. The forestry outfit is just a cosmetic version of the lumberjack. Both outfits have the same 2.5% bonus woodcutting XP when you wear the full set. It's not that much of a boost, but it is a little bit of bonus XP. You can also purchase the clothes pouch blueprint. If you use a leather on this blueprint while you have a needle in your inventory, you'll make a clothes pouch. You can attach that clothes pouch to your forestry kit, and then you can store the outfit in the kit. That way you don't have to wear the outfit, and you could pick some fashionscape while still getting the bonus XP. There's also the cape pouch that you can buy so that you can put your woodcutting cape into your forestry kit. We do have the sawmill voucher here. This can be used to make an extra plank at the sawmill or when using the make plank spell. You do get 10 vouchers per 150 bark, which is not too bad, but it would be kind of nicer if they were a little bit cheaper. You can also spend 15,000 Amina bark on a funky shaped log, which can be used on your beaver to unlock some transmog options. Once you've used the funky log on the beaver, you can then use any other log to change the beaver's style to match those other logs. Forestry is a great update for woodcutting. In fact, it's like 95% of woodcutting gameplay since all you're doing otherwise is just chopping trees. But finally, we can go ahead and get into the leveling guide. Starting with the route that I would do for 1 to 99 woodcutting. At level 1, it is good to start with the Monk's Friend quest, which will give you 2k woodcutting XP, jumping you to 13 woodcutting. You'll still be under 15 overall, so from 1 to 15 you can just chop normal logs. These can be done really anywhere, so I go for the classic spot behind the Lumbridge Castle. Normal logs are pretty cheap, so you can just drop them when your inventory is full to speed up the training process. Levels 15 to 35, you can chop oak logs. You do get multiple logs per tree from oaks, so it's actually kind of convenient. Getting 15 to 35 woodcutting should take just about an hour, especially if you upgrade to the mithril axe at 21 woodcutting and the adamant axe at 31 woodcutting. There are oak trees just about everywhere. Two good spots would be behind Lumbridge Castle or south of the Sears Village Bank. Even if you're close to a bank, oak logs are pretty cheap, so it still is more efficient to just drop the logs. At level 35, you can start chopping teak trees. Teak trees will be some of the best woodcutting XP you can get for the rest of your training. If you include tick manipulating, like 3 tick or even 1.5 tick woodcutting, then you can get the best XP rates in the game. It is not a requirement by any means to do any tick manipulating. If you are interested in a 3 tick woodcutting guide, let me know in the comments section below. The best teak trees are all pretty far from a bank, so it tends to be better just to drop the logs when your envy is full. The best spots I would go for would be these 2 trees on Ape Atoll, these 3 trees that are on the Isle of Souls, or these few options in the northeastern part of Prif. The Prif trees are kind of nice because you can also get some crystal shards while you are chopping. It's also a good idea to be picking an area that has a lot of players, so that can help with forestry events and whatnot. During these levels, you'll be able to upgrade to a rune and then a dragon axe. You could also send the crystal axe eventually if you are willing to spend some GP on the crystal tool seed. I do suggest getting a dragon felling axe at 61 plus woodcutting and then making some rations to get the bonus 10% XP. It's not a huge bonus, but overall, the faster you get your woodcutting done, the quicker you could go work on other things that'll make you even more money. Finally, from 90 to 99, I like to send redwood logs at this point still, mostly because I love how AFK they are. You don't get any forestry benefits from redwoods, unfortunately, and it is sort of a toss-up there between teak logs, since you can do a little bit faster XP an hour from teaks. So if you don't mind the pace of teak logs, you can continue to do those until 99 woodcutting, but I am a big fan of these chill redwoods. For the alt methods, we'll start by talking about the Soloceps on Fossil Island, which are another solid woodcutting method. You can start Soloceps at 65 woodcutting, and it does require completing the Bone Voyage quest. You will need a rake to get through some of the swamp, and occasionally you'll be attacked by tar monsters and these mushrooms that spike you, which will poison you. So bringing a little bit of food like Cerato and Brews or an anti-poison with you is not a bad option, but you're also not that far from the bank on the island. Soloceps work a little bit differently than regular trees. There are 6 locations where there could be a mushroom that you can chop from, but only 1 will be available to chop from at a time, and it's always going to go in the same order, so it's not like you have to run around and guess. You just have to find like the first one. It's not super AFK, but it is pretty chill woodcutting gains and very solid XP, as well as a good source for the fossils from Fossil Island and Mortmire fungus. Those are by far the best ways to be getting woodcutting XP. There are a couple of money makers with woodcutting if you do magic or yew trees. I don't suggest using woodcutting to make money that much. I would rather get the faster XP and make up the money later. But with forestry added, there are some nice bonus gains. I did find that yew trees in Prifendos were very chill. They got decent XP an hour while adding a little bit of profit. Right at 60 woodcutting, it'll still be pretty slow, but if you're like 80 plus, it's going to be worth trying out to see if you like it. And then the same with magics. There's a nice group of 4 magic trees in Prifendos, which often has players chopping in the Forestry Worlds. You can get a decent amount of logs per hour for some bonus GP. Again, I'm a fan of leaning the faster XP methods and making up for the money later though. Overall, this was more of a forestry guide than a woodcutting guide in a way, but forestry is just part of woodcutting now. It's what makes woodcutting a lot more interesting and rewarding to train, and it gives more reasons for players to actually skill in a large group instead of trying to hop to an empty world. If you do have any questions about training your woodcutting, be sure to let me know in the comments section below, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. If you enjoyed the video or you just got some useful information out of it, be sure to like and subscribe for more content. Thank you very much for watching, and best of luck on your woodcutting grinds.